We have now seen all 10 liveries for the 2023 F1 season. Some of them are good, and a few of them are downright awful. And today I'm going to be ranking the liveries from worst to best in my opinion for the 2023 season. And I will say before I begin that there are no liveries that I truly love this year, sadly. It seems a lot of the teams have opted to try and reduce the amount of paint that they use in order to try and save weight, and it does seem to have impacted the look of some of the cars. Sadly, we're going to have a very dark looking grid this year, and cars being brightly coloured are just going to be a thing of the past. In the comments, I would love to know what is your favourite and least favourite livery. Now, let's get into the video. In 10th place, I have gone for the first car that we saw in 2023, and that is the Haas. Yeah, sadly, at the bottom of the list is the Haas. Now, the Haas livery from last year for me was nothing too special. It was pretty much just a white car with some red stripes after they stopped being a Russian flag on wheels. And well, there was something actually quite nice about it. It was different, and yes, it was very basic, but it was different to the rest of the grid. This year's Haas livery, though, has taken all of that white and stripped about 70% of it away. Not only that, but I'm not sure what's going on with the MoneyGram logo. From the top down, it just kind of doesn't look right. It looks like they're paying homage to Nikita Mazepin with the logo spinning around. Nevertheless, I at least hope the car is faster than it looks, because for me, it's just not doing it. In 9th place, the McLaren. Yep, I know what some of you are thinking. Really, the McLaren? Why is it so far down the list? McLaren just has not done a great job with it. The random splodges of orange and blue then mixed in with the driver suits being practically grey just looks a little bit off and a little bit weird to me, sadly. Maybe when it's on track it will at least look a little bit better, but as of right now, that livery just is not doing it for me. A lot of carbon fibre with some splodges of orange and blue, just, yeah, it's not great. So, we'll see what it's like on track. Maybe it'll be better, but yeah, I don't think so. And given how they're playing down their chances, I don't even think they're going to have a great car this year to go with that really forgettable livery. In 8th place, the Williams. The Williams, at least in its current form, is certainly a big improvement over last year's livery. Last year, the car really did not look that great, and well, the main livery from last year was one of the first liveries to get stripped back. Initially, the livery was just the same colour as this year's, but it had a giant W in the centre of the engine cover, and with how it just looked, it was a little bit strange with the shades of blue just not really meshing very well. But this year, despite the fact that they are using the same shades of blue, in my opinion, it looks significantly better. The lines on the design is a big improvement over the giant W from last year, but the question on my mind is, how long will the car look like this? Is it only going to be a matter of weeks before the Williams looks a lot like it did last year and changed into only being half a livery? Only time will tell, but as of now, it looks decent, so it's in 8th place on my list. In 7th place, the Alpine. Sticking with the colour of blue, and yep, there is a lot of blue cars on the grid this year, but thankfully the blue on this car, with just a dash of pink, does spice it up a little bit. In 7th is the Alpine car. Alpine has pretty much the same livery that they ran from last year again this year, and that is to be expected. The Alpine, much like the Haas and the McLaren, features a lot of naked carbon fibre. However, at least unlike the McLaren and Haas where it seems to be like a disease that has just spread around the car, on the Alpine, the carbon fibre is just on top of the side pods, and given that their side pods swoop inwards similar to the Ferrari, then it's much less noticeable from the side shots. But that being said, from above, it is very noticeable, and then you have that weird mix of blue, pink, and black with the carbon fibre, a strange combination, and that is why it's only 7th on my list. That being said, special shout out for the pink livery, because we are going to see it for the first 3 races in 2023, where it's essentially just a pink car with some naked carbon fibre. And you know what? It actually looks pretty good. I would kind of prefer that Alpine ran that for a full season because, well, there's a lot of blue on the grid this year, so to have a nice bright pink car on the grid, it would spice it up quite a lot, but sadly we're not going to get that. In 6th place, the AlphaTauri. The Red Bull B team rarely fails to impress with its livery, as whether it was AlphaTauri or even Toro Rosso throughout the years, they have almost always delivered on a good or even great looking livery. But sadly this year is probably one of the least impressive liveries that they have ever done. Now, it's not too different from the previous iterations of AlphaTauri livery, But for me, just some small additions have thrown off the livery from how it used to be. The main thing for me is the incorporation of the sponsor Alpine on the car this year. The livery has always been a mixture of navy blue and white as AlphaTauri, and to me, it has always looked great, but now they've incorporated the red from Alpine, and, well, it just doesn't go with the rest of the livery. Also, something tells me that it's only a matter of time before that navy colour becomes exposed carbon fibre, which will be a bit of a shame, but yeah, that red just doesn't go with the rest of the car, and yeah, it just doesn't do it for me, so that's why AlphaTauri just misses out on the top 5. But now, we're going to get into the top 5, and the 5 best liveries for the grid for this year, and in 5th place, it's the Red Bull. For some of you, Red Bull is probably placed way too highly and really should be in 10th place because, well, it's the exact same livery that Red Bull has run since 2016, and whilst, yes, I understand that can be an issue for some people, for me, the livery is a modern classic, and when you see it, you instantly recognise it with Red Bull. We have not yet seen the real car yet to judge the livery on with the new car, as the car that the team launched in New York was, well, it was the 2022 car with the 2023 livery. But personally, the dark main colour mixed with the red and yellow of Red Bull will always be a winning livery for me, and that is why it is ranked as highly as it is on this list. But it doesn't quite make the top 4, because in 4th place is the Alfa Romeo livery. Originally, I had this livery a little bit higher on my list, and honestly, for quite a while, it was my favourite livery design of the year. I love the shade of red that Alfa Romeo has used, and I am a fan of how they've gone about incorporating the exposed carbon fibre, using it to replace what was last year a red and white car with now a red and black car, and red and black always does look good. However, from certain angles, I realised that it actually just doesn't look that great, as from certain angles there is a little bit too much exposed carbon fibre, and it kind of ruins the livery. But like I said, that kind of just depends on the angle of the image. That being said, it is still a beautiful shade of red, and in a way it is still one of the most colourful cars on the grid. And yes, the on-track images do look fantastic for this year's Alfa Romeo, and I can't wait to see it on track this year. In 3rd place, I've gone for the Aston Martin. Not only am I incredibly excited to see what the green machine can do out on track, as I believe it will be a vastly improved car over last year, the Aston Martin also looks beautiful. The Aston Martin team, at least as of right now, seem to be one of the only 2 teams that have actually increased the amount of paint on their car that they had versus last year. The car is one of the most filled-in cars in terms of colour, which is always nice to see when you take into consideration that most of the teams this year is practically half carbon fibre. The shade of green is very much the same as last year's shade of green, and you know what? That's not a bad thing. The British Racing Green did look great, and with the design of the car looking like a mashup between the Ferrari and Red Bull in terms of concepts, it could very well be a dark horse for one of the better cars to perform this year. With Fernando Alonso at the wheel, Aston Martin will be guaranteed one driver who will give it absolutely his all to make sure that that car can finish as high up the field as possible. And who knows, we may very well see Aston Martin sneak onto the podium at least once this year. But if they don't, they do at least make up for being on the podium for best looking livery of 2023 in Mr. Pulse's opinion. Now we are down to the top 2, and this is the top 2 teams that I believe is going to be taking the fight to Red Bull in this year's World Championship. And well, at least they've beaten them in the livery department, even if one of the 2 cars doesn't really have a livery. But which one is best in my opinion? Well, in a result that may be shocking to some of you, especially those that know me, in 2nd place I've gone for Ferrari. This might be a wild one for some of you who know me, because when the Ferrari car was launched versus the Mercedes, I was far more impressed with the livery of the Ferrari. Since the Mercedes does not really have a livery, but there are a few nagging little things on the Ferrari which I'm not really a fan of. The shade of red is incredible, but their use of exposing the carbon is a little bit weird in certain places, and well, for me, it's just not very well done in my opinion. They have it randomly pop out in a couple of places, and whilst, yes, I do understand it is to make sure that their Santander and Siva sponsorship stands out, it just looks a little bit amateurish, and they certainly could have gone about it in a different way. Although that being said, I'm not really an artist, so I couldn't come up with something better myself. But other than that, the Ferrari is a stunning car, and I really do hope and believe it will be as fast as it looks. But that means then in first place is the Mercedes. Yep, that's right, Mercedes is my favourite livery of 2023, despite the fact it's not really a livery. But I mean, come on, it looks stunning on track. Mercedes has reverted to the black livery from the 2020 and 2021 season, although the reason why is completely different to last time. In 2020, Mercedes went to a black livery in support of Black Lives Matter and the End Racism campaign that they were going through, and they were of course showing support to their main driver, Lewis Hamilton. But in 2023, they are back in black. But this time it is because the vast majority of the car is just exposed carbon fibre, and they've opted to paint what is left in black. There is actually only a tiny amount of paint on the car as they are desperate to reduce the weight of the car, but I have to be honest, even though there is virtually no paint on the car, it is still somehow the best solution by a country mile to the rising exposed carbon fibre. That black, when mixed with Lewis Hamilton's yellow helmet, looks simply stunning. And if I'm honest, it is when I saw Lewis Hamilton on track I realised that that's actually my favourite looking car. The black and yellow is just perfect. But that is my list. The question is though, what is your list for the ranking of the liveries from worst to best? In the comments, let me know, and as always, comment, leave a like, and subscribe for more F1 content. Thanks for watching guys, bye!